All right. Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. Raj, it's been some time. We've gotten some more Team USA basketball. We've gotten some more in action from the Lakers. I mean, they've kind of narrowed down and finalized who their head coaches are going to be and some of these other positions. I think we're still waiting on that promised director of player development who has
Mhm.
not been hired yet. But I'll be interested to see what happens with that. But before we get into it, Team USA and what we'd like to see from this Lakers team, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing better. I was sick for about a week now. Coming in and out of Las Vegas, which is an experience. It's always funny because you come home. It's like, man, it's so much cooler here. It's like
Yeah.
115 in Vegas. You come home, it's like 100 degrees here, and then you get used to the heat here. But I'm doing a lot better. I thought it was a lot. I thought it was funny. I forgot who it was that kind of sourced the uh the point that it was like Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt would be the sell. Them two healthy would be the sell along with Max Christie's minutes.
No,
I
no,
put
it
that
was
out
you.
like I
It
put that out
was,
like
it was,
no.
yeah.
Like I forgot who sourced it recently, but I posted that
Oh,
like July 2nd. Like I think that's what they're gonna sell us
yeah.
on
I
July
think I think
2nd.
Jovan wrote the article that like Max
Yes,
Christie's
yes.
leap, plus all the other
Right.
guys are going to.
In 2 minutes. I thought that was funny. But yeah, just enjoying USA basketball, enjoying the other Olympic sports. Some sports that I didn't know were sports, Renee.
Oh,
Like some
dude,
stuff
yeah.
that I find out now are sports and look super impressive. The high jump has been really interesting to watch, and just watching other athletes kind of in their zone. Lone Lyles was the
Yeah,
story of
he's
like the
shutting
week.
up Twitter, dude. That guy, the
Yeah.
100-meter dude. Yeah,
Now it's on Team USA, I guess, to win their gold and kind of prove
crazy.
him wrong. But I'm good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's like you said, it's been super hot, and it continues to be hot. So hopefully it cools down at some point. Um, Kids going back to school. School season's back in session now. Most of the kids are trying
Mm,
to go back to school. So I know the parents that are listening to this probably on their drive to dropping their kids off to school are happy that they don't have to entertain them for hours in the summer for the kids that have it like that. Dude, you brought it up. I just want to talk about this Noah Lyles thing. Like, there's this thing that's happened, and I don't know if you noticed it. Like, it hasn't started like since the Olympics has started, but like obviously since Elon Musk bought X
hmm
and or turned it into X, and it just kind of it just feels like these past month or two, like the collective. This is just observation, like the collective negativity or like the collective like we want to drag you down here with us, like
hmm
energy from Twitter has like increased so much. It feels like over the past like 2 3 weeks, where it's just like almost like you're a big Drake guy. Oh, and I think we lost Raj for a second, but like the thing that I was gonna like sort of just basically say was that um like even when like this Drake Kendrick topic, which I don't care for anymore, comes up, and when stuff like that happens, Raj, you back
Yeah, I don't
there?
know what happened. Something you
Yeah.
mentioned Lyles and it just cut me right out.
Yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries. So I was basically just saying, like, Twitter's like reaching like this level of like collective negativity that I've like never seen before. Like, it's like, and then like the pinnacle for me was like watching this Noah Lyles thing because I was like, if he wins, that's great. You know, he represents the country
hmm
and stuff like that. But people were like very gung ho, like everybody's locked in. They want to watch him fail. They're practically speaking. They're like pre event speaking
Right.
their insults like into existence. Like, and I was just like, dude, there's no way this guy made you guys this mad to want to see him fail. And he's like repping the country and stuff like that. So it's like you would think that's important, but I don't know. Have you noticed that? Has that been like a thing? I mean, we've kind of been on and off like
Right.
Twitter because it's kind of dead period right now. But I don't know. Every time I log in, it just seems like somebody's arguing about something that makes there's no reason to argue about it, but people
Yeah,
are arguing
yeah.
about
The hate feels more palpable now.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been kind of offline, so I haven't really lived to see, I guess, the amount of reactions to it. But I think he's smart. Like he's obviously building his brand, and he's obviously found a way to get people engaged in something that not that people wouldn't have watched it's the freaking Olympics, but I think he's garnered a crowd in a way that it might not have. Like he's garnered interest in that in a way that it might not have. And
Yeah.
Any publicity is good publicity, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
honestly, yeah. That I mean,
For-
we've seen so many people who are just negative and hateful on Twitter, and then they get brand deals for their podcast that they randomly launch. So, I mean, it's there is a formula. We should send our condolences. I saw some news about Skip Bayless, his TV career finally being over, potentially, and I was gonna say that's a good thing. I think for the world because he has been spearheading 20 years of just not good coverage of anything. Like I would say.
I don't buy that his TV,
Really so?
lifetime is over. That does not sound like a guy that's about to just go off into the light and just enjoy his period of retirement.
For
That
sure.
does not sound like a guy that does that. I mean, his pictures when they come off very creepy to me. There's a level of staging it. There's a level of buying into your own, drama that you've created, your own persona online. Skip Bayless does not follow a single person other than I believe the show that he's on. If I have that correctly, the pictures that he posts that he says his wife takes are just absolutely amazing art. So no, I don't think he's about to just go into it'll be like Thrift and he'll tweet something so innocuous like Ronnie James had 16 and his dad couldn't even do that at his age, and it's like 2 a.m. and it's just an absurd post. So no, this is not about a guy. It's not a guy to me that's about to retire. He's gonna.
You think he's gonna go down swinging? He's gonna go down with the ship.
Absolutely, he's going to YouTube or he's going to wherever the next check is.
Yeah, that's fair.
To where he can put his face on camera.
That's fair.
I don't think you've seen the last of Skip Bayless. I do think doing a show with Paul Pierce and then Paul Pierce, I think has really lost his basketball respect in some words because of what he's done on TV. But that's a guy that looks like he does not care. And then I've watched some of the show and it's not entertaining, even as it used to be. But Skip Bayless will be on TV.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Not to go too much more on this, but it's fascinating to see it happen because I think engagement, like we're like in this era, it's not profound, but it's like engagement really, really drives.
It's everything.
The production, and I think for him, for that his show, you add a guy like Paul Pierce, he's willing to say the stuff to draw the negative engagement or to basically. I mean, they try to gaslight Braun fans all the time. Like that's been Skip's thing the whole time. The only reason he continues to do it is because they continue to react to him. I think he tried to bring on Paul Pierce to do that, but there's like it feels like the diminishing returns is happening much, much faster now because you see it in writing too. Like you'll see beat writers, not just for the Lakers, but for other places where if you recycle the story enough, eventually the reaction turns against you. All of a sudden people will be like, oh wow, this guy's a newsbreaker. And then you repeat that story a couple of times, people figure out the pattern. They're like, oh, all right, this guy's just kind of, getting content out and stuff like that. So it's fascinating to see because sometimes there is no news. So like you would think that people who can come up with organic, real questions, real things to think about would be the ones that succeed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But Raj, you're right. The Olympics have been great. I have been watching table tennis. I have been watching. I watched cycling. Women's cycling today was intense. I watched beach volleyball, which was significantly more intense than I thought it would be. But obviously, and obviously the 100 meters was crazy too as well. But for us, the thing that we're probably most interested in right now is just kind of how Team USA performs. And the talk of Team USA, I would say up until this point, outside of all the player standing that's happening on Twitter, people being offended about Tatum not playing or KD coming off the bench, has been Anthony Davis and LeBron James kind of being, and I would say Anthony Edwards too as well, being like those top three guys for the team and sort of leading the way. What have you taken? We're about to get into now the quarterfinals, semifinals, the medaling games. What have you taken? Kind of what are your observations of Team USA so far, or from or of the players?
Yeah, that was funny because Draymond had his kind of spiel, right? Of you can't bench Jason Tatum, and
Mhm.
but like I think one part that he said was correct. I think Team USA is still just miles ahead in terms of talent of any other team. I think Canada is close, obviously Serbia having Jokic, but I think Team USA is just miles better in terms of talent to where they really don't have to. Like I'm tired of watching Joel Embiid, Vinay, and these first 6 minutes of these games get post touches,
Mm.
not run the floor, not rebound the basketball. And it really doesn't matter because they're going to win by 25 and 30. Obviously, both of us are, cover the Lakers and our lens are with LeBron and AD. I would like to start our conversation with AD, Vinay, because I think his
Yes.
reputation has changed the most over the summer, which it's been very strange. Watch people start to go and appreciate Anthony Davis,
Mhm.
and I don't think they're wrong in that. I think both of us have kind of spread this gospel. I don't believe he can play this role on the Lakers at the cap
Mm.
that he eats up. It's not physically possible to me. Like he cannot. I mean, I guess he could try to be Rudy Gobert, but I think like I just don't think you can build a team around that. And I think it just gives you it brings trouble in other areas. But it's been fun watching him doing that. Like it's been very cool to where the Team USA runs no offense for him. There's no post ups. Doesn't have to shoot a single jump shot if he doesn't want to. Doesn't have to shoot a floater if he does not want to.
Yeah.
You could tell that brings the joy in the game for him in a way that he can't find with the Lakers. But it's been cool watching him play next to a guy like Bam. I know we can speak later in terms of guys.
Raj, I think we lost your mic for a second there. Yeah, you might have muted yourself. Yeah, there we go. Now I can
Oh,
hear
can you
you.
hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's been fun watching him play next to a guy like Bam, a guy that can kind of protect the rim as well, a guy that can switch out and then just play with other athletes, right? Playing next to a Tatum, next to an Anthony Edwards, next to other guys that can defend the ball. And obviously, the Lakers can't provide that, especially with the roster they have now. But do
Mhm.
you agree with that, Vinay? I just don't think you can like. AD can't be a defense only guy on the Lakers.
Mm.
That's just not something that's feasible with him making $60 million a year.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. So, the reason we named it, Roger and I were talking before we launched, we went live. The reason that I named this episode "Questions That Need Answers" is because I think a lot of people are learning about how good AD can be when he is allowed to focus on the things that he likes to focus on, which is
Mm.
the stuff on the defensive end, being a defensive force, grabbing offensive rebounds, getting easy buckets, just running up and down the floor, not having to do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to creating, screening a ton. He's not having to do that a lot with this team either. Um, One of the things, the questions that we wanted to try and answer, or just kind of discuss out loud to see if the Lakers can get to this point, is can the Lakers construct, strategize, whatever the term needs to be, um, coachify it to the point where AD is not being forced to, or AD can play this defensive oriented role. Obviously, he's going to have to be able to score. He's not going to get away with 10 points a game or something like that. But can we get him at least defensively to a point where he's playing the same type of role that he's playing for Team USA? Obviously, we don't have the talent that Team USA does. It's very
Mhm.
silly to think about it in that regards. But schematically or strategically, is it possible to get AD to that defensive oriented role? I don't know, Raj. As of right now, I would say no because we don't have a center who plays like Bam plays. I'm not saying as good as Bam plays, but isn't it the defensive force that Bam is, even as a specialist, for us to play next to AD? What do you think?
So I've seen people bring this up, and I get it. Like I think the easiest comparison is looking at the center he's playing next to. But then we start Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
Like, and again, nothing against the guys because I like obviously I think they obviously have offensive utility, but like Team USA is putting out Derek White, Drew Holiday, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, LeBron being able to be more engaged on the defensive end because of the offensive ask he has on Team USA. It's just apples to oranges. Like I think I can enjoy AD on Team USA while realizing like this is just not a role that he's going to be able to have
Yeah.
on the Lakers. Like there's just no way to get there, especially if the roster. And I believe the roster is going to be this on opening night. I have no reason not to believe that. I mean,
Mhm.
I see the Jeremy Grant stuff. I see the Bruce Brown stuff. Shout out our guy Rome who puts in trades for us every single day on the in our group chats. But I just like you're starting from a place, and then obviously LeBron's defensive engagement in an 82 game, schedule, just like the 80 is gonna have the world of defense on his shoulders. And unless there's a massive trade coming that I don't see, like I don't think Jackson Hayes is helping this very much. Christian Wood's not helping this very much. Rui Hachimura, who's actually looked really good playing for Japan, and then he got hurt and is out for the Olympics now. But I don't think he's helping this very much. And like that's the part I wish we can separate, because I'm seeing the longing for, hey, we got to build a team like this. You can't, like every single one of these guys, I think other than Derek White, makes like $35 million a year on this team. It's not a fair ask. Am I being too harsh with that? I that's the way I'm like watching these games, and I'm watching the timeline follow it. I'm like, this is not a realistic ask, and it's not fair. Like it's not a fair ask what is asked of AD, but he's also like the second highest paid guy in the league right now. Yeah. So I don't know how to quantify that. Where are you at with that, I guess, a fair or not fair ask on AD?
Yeah, so at this point, I would say when it comes to like the fair or not fair conversation, like at least my stance on this has kind of sort of been that, like, if you're getting paid max money, I don't care whether it's fair or not. Like at this point, like we're giving you a max contract, and I know it sounds very insensitive to say that because they're human beings, and we've always been big advocates that you have to respect the human element of basketball. So I'm not saying we should run down our players to the point and to, where they get injured, but like, I can't, like, there's only we'll try to make it easier for our star players, but there's only so much we can do when it comes to it. So as of right now, I don't think we can put AD in that defensive centric role. I do think we can get there. Not with the existing roster. I think I'm with you in the same regards. There has to be some roster moving around stuff for that to be possible. Which we'll get to in a second. But I'm with you. I want to say that, and this is the flip side of the conversation. So let me introduce that first before we talk about which one's easier to do. LeBron has played this very offensive centric role for Team USA. He is getting to pick and choose when he wants to impact the game. It reminds me a lot of how Kobe did it the year that we won gold with Kobe there. Kobe wasn't the guy who was scoring the most points in the game. He wasn't the guy who was, filling up the stat sheet essentially in that regards. But he was able to kind of pick his spots where he could see that, maybe Team USA was losing a little bit of momentum, or they needed a closer at the end of some games. Yeah. Somebody who's willing to go and take the shots, not be afraid to take the shots. So he knew how to pick his spots. And it feels like LeBron on Team USA is doing that too as well. He picks his spots, especially like when it's him and Steph, and he's trying to set up Steph as much as he can. He's still a force in transition, offensive transition. And then, we've had some games like the South Sudan game, where, he closes the game out for the Lakers. Oh, sorry, not for the Lakers, for Team USA. And of course he's done it for the Lakers too as well. But the same way AD has had a defensive-centric role, I would say LeBron has had a very offensive-centric role. His workload has been less, for sure. But I would say it's been much more offensive. They're not asking him to be the low man tag guy. He's not having to do crazy rotations on the perimeter. He'll get blown by. He'll not chase a guy all the way out to the perimeter. That stuff's going to happen. But there's a real distinction. I don't want to say they've been relegated to role players, but to some degree their workload has been a little more specialized. For the Lakers, when you think of those two things, and you can correct me if you agree or you don't agree with the LeBron thing. My question to you is, what is easier for the Lakers to do right now? Is it easier to put LeBron into a just more offensive-centric role, or is it easier for us to get to a point where we can put AD into a like much more defensive-centric role and not expect him to do that? Because I think that is if we could figure maybe one of those two out, it would help the team as a whole based on the roster that we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's easier to put LeBron in an offensive-centric role. Like, I just don't think we have the defensive pieces to put AD in a defensive-centric role. Now, there's ways you can kind of mitigate that. You can lower AD's offensive ask, but that hasn't been the messaging, Vinay,
Yeah,
around JJ Redick. The messaging has been, we're going to involve AD even more offensively. We're going to
yeah,
make him the hub, right? And we've talked about this for the last, I think, 2 preseasons, that we hear this every
every year.
preseason, and
Yeah,
every year is the offense will run through AD. And I say, I'll believe that when I see it. But I think JJ has some real kind of modern concepts to kind of go with that. A lot of 5-out spacing, right? A lot of cuts that surround. And I still think this all lives and dies with AD's ability to be a threat from outside of 3 feet. Like, I think that just has to be the case for you to be an offensive hub in any way. But I think for right now, yeah, it's easier to have LeBron be the offensive hub and then just funnel everything to AD on the other end. I think that's easier to do, at least with the roster right now. Shell brought up Vando. I think that's an important kind of construct in this as well. We'll see what Vando is, just in terms of health wise coming into this season. It's very tough for a guy to miss a whole season, and then you expect him to come back running full speed. We'll see whatever Gabe is next year as well. Obviously, Max Christie's kind of name has been thrown into this as an athletic wing that we just don't know what he is. So maybe like that's where we can flip to your end, Vinay, of like, having more of a defensive structure that doesn't rely all on AD to carry you. But for now, yeah, I think it's easier to put LeBron in an offensive role. I think LeBron looks like he walked right in and just said, "Yeah, I'll be the closer. I'll be the guy that ends games. I don't have to do much during the game, right? I shoot when I want. I can drive to the rim whenever I want to.
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old, when I'm 3 times stronger than any other person on the court. No one can guard me when I drive to the rim, and it's been cool to watch him be able to play this role as well. And I would say the same thing about AD as I do LeBron. The Lakers don't have that luxury. Like LeBron can't sit and wait till the third quarter to turn it on a Laker game.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna win 38 games if you do stuff like that on the Lakers. But do you agree with that? Or are you kind of on the flip side that it's kind of easier to shift it towards AD having a less kind of defensive role?
No. I think the Lakers should make Braun be like purely an offensive player. Like, don't rely on him for any. I know it's crazy because he's eating up a max salary slot, but like, honestly, for me, it's just like, just let him play offense. Like, for the past 2 years, for sure last year, I don't know if I would. I have to really think about the year prior. Like, Braun has been very, very particular about like when he wants to impact the game. It's not much more different than what he's seeing from Team USA. But one of the issues the Lakers have had is we haven't been good enough defensively to preserve leads or to kind of tamp down what the opposing team wants to do offensively. And a lot of that has to do because of the personnel that we have on the team. We had the Russ year where it was just a mishmash of too many guards. And then last year, Vando gets hurt, Gabe gets hurt, so we lose defensive guys. And then who am I thinking of? D'Lo and Austin, they're not necessarily defensive guys in the backcourt too as well. Rui's not necessarily a defensive guy in that regards. And so for me, it's just like, I think that sort of plays hand in hand, honestly, Raj. Like, I think it would be better for the Lakers to let Braun just be like, I'm trying to think of a guy who's a good comparison, like somebody that we could compare without like denigrating Braun, but like I'm trying to think of like, just think of some player out there who just kind of gets to pick and choose.
Can I give you an answer, Vinay?
Go for it.
Like, it doesn't exist. Like it doesn't. Like, there's no guy playing 38. I'm sorry. Like, there's no guy playing 38 minutes a game that like you just say. And I'm not saying LeBron does this purposely, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I'm saying like that guy just doesn't. I've thought about it as well. It's just that guy, like maybe Michael Porter Jr. on Denver, who, you know what I mean, who's not a great defender, but I think he has a defensive role on that team, right? He has a lot of size. He chases over. He's just not good laterally because of his injuries and the way he moves. But yeah, you go look through the contenders that guy just does not play on the right team.
Can I give you an example of a younger player who does that? Luka is probably a good example of a guy like that, where if you stack a ton of defensive guys around Luka, and the coach has to be really smart with the lineups. Like, he has to know when Luka wants to be in that mode where he's just kind of ball hogging the entire time. Like, if JJ can figure that out with Braun, I would really, really like the Lakers to go in that direction. Because, dude, honestly, like, I don't want to rely on LeBron for low man defense. I don't want to rely on LeBron for a deep. And we had a conversation where I think we had it in the group chat where we were I was trying to make the case that it's more work to have to box out and rebound and chase guys around on the perimeter, or just box out and rebound and defend in the low post or below the free throw line than it is on the perimeter, especially when you're just guarding 3-and-D guys. Like if Braun's job is just to go and run from corner to corner and guard whoever that stationary 3-and-D guy is, or the non-shooter, perimeter non-shooter guy is, that's less work for him on defense, dude. And I would rather play AD at the 4 and the 5 that would, maybe have guys thinking twice. I think that's a better way of preserving Braun and to get the best parts of Braun that you get, transition offense, distribution, and all that sort of stuff. Because my thing is this: I thought last season. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I thought we brought it up a few times. I thought one of the number one issues that Darvin Ham had is he didn't know how to navigate when Braun was flipping that switch for himself throughout the game. Like he knew the fourth quarter stuff would come with Braun, but in the second quarter, when does Braun really want to attack? Is he waiting towards the end of the second quarter for that second shift, or is it the start of the third shift? We saw it. We saw games where Braun was like very quiet in the first half of games, and then in the third quarter, that first shift, he just explode for
Right.
on the scoring barrage until the fourth quarter when he does his final shift. So it's just, I would like to eliminate that. Like, let's not leave it up to figuring out how Braun feels. Let's just make it so that when Braun feels like he wants to be super aggressive, he can be super aggressive. But outside of that, we're not relying on him to do other stuff because it affects both sides of the ball. I think that would help AD with the traditional center. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think about this in the context of what we just had a whole conversation on what's fair for Anthony Davis, right? And Anthony Davis is 31. Do I have it right? 31 or 30?
Yeah.
I forgot exactly what he is. He's somewhere right in his prime or past. I don't know what prime is anymore, but I'm thinking that's right in your prime. Ron's 40 next year.
Yeah.
4-0. Again, we had the constant conversation about what's fair. I have no idea. I have no idea what's fair for a 40-year-old. Should he be the one that needs to do this at 40 years old? Like, is there a level of offensive responsibility that like has a cap at 40 years old in an 82 game grind? And you talk about picking your place in terms of when to attack. And I get all that. I think that's understandable. I think that's something that's a luxury we would like to give to 40-year-old LeBron. Do the Lakers have that next year?
I don't think so. Yeah.
I love Austin. I think he's a nice connect to roll. I think D'Lo has his moments in the regular season. I don't know if the team's good enough for that. And maybe JJ's offense, maybe Dalton connects right away. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of ifs and stuff that needs to be worked out. But I just don't know how you go. I don't know what the ask is. So next year, I think the Lakers are going with it as LeBron's still LeBron James, and he's still going to carry the offense in the ways that he did for the last decade. And I think that's how they're going to move forward. I think it's very tough to go into a season and again, JJ's a rookie head coach. Darvin Ham had 20 plus years as an assistant, and very much struggled with the idea that you just spoke about of, okay, when's the right time to sub here? When do I kind of push? When do I pull? Right, those are things you learn as a coach. Yeah. I think, Darvin got to a conference finals, win it with it, and came back next year and obviously struggled with his player management and relationships, but. I don't know how you go into next year and try to pick and choose that. I think you just see what LeBron looks like, and then you have to move from there, right? Which is a tough space. It's a tough space to be in. It's just, again, like you just said, Luka, and go down the contender list, Vinay. What the asks are on the best players on contenders. And those asks are usually massive, unless you're Jason Tatum, where like your team can win with you not shooting well. But like other than that, Joel Embiid averaged 35 a game last year. As much as I hate on Joel Embiid, like that's the ask of a star in this year. Luka just averaged what, 28, 11 and whatever. Jokic averages what, close to a triple double. Like I'm just going down the contender list, and the Lakers hope to be contenders next year. That's like the ask of your superstars. You don't get to go, but my star is 40. No one cares. Like the league does not care.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very
you're going to live in the playing game. Yeah. Like if that's the way you go about it. It's a tough place to be, and it's not fair. It's what the reality is. Yeah. LeBron just signed a 1+1 to continue to be paid the way. I don't know. He took a little bit of a pay cut, I think, but like in
a little bit, yeah, slightly below the max that he could have taken. Yeah.
Right. Right. So I don't know like where I don't like this conversation is tough because I like trying to parse out your stars kind of responsibility again is a role like should
Yeah.
be confided for role players.
Yeah.
But we're doing this with our stars. I think it's fascinating. But
Yeah.
where you at, I guess, with that idea?
Yeah, I'm at this point where like I accept it. Like I'm actually a step past it now, where I'm like I'm
Mm,
just accepting the fact that Braun is going to be, going to be pacing himself offensively, pacing himself defensively, and I'm trying to work around it, or not work around it. I'm trying to move past that. Where if we talk about constants and variables when it comes
mm,
to basketball, if we used to think that the ceiling of the team and the floor of the team is a variable based on the roster, but I think the Lakers are in a very unique situation where because of Braun's age and because he's an old guy, he's got a lot of mileage on his legs, that the variable would be where he's at, where his performance is at. But I think you have to flip the way you think about it and think of it as a constant. That Braun will always be selective about where he wants to insert himself. Now, if you approach the roster and how you construct lineups and stuff like that with that in mind, the constant is that Braun is going to pick and choose when he really wants to impact the game. That AD is not going to shoot threes anymore. He's going to be inside the 3-point line guy. Maybe the jump shot will be on. Maybe the jump shot won't be on. But he's still an amazing defensive force. Again, Braun's still an amazing offensive player, regardless of what he picks. If you take those two things as constants, and we say, all right, now you need to build a team based on knowing that this is going to be the situation with these two guys. For me, when I think about it, doing that one step ahead, I keep coming back to myself, thinking to myself, okay, you need maybe one or two other volume scoring guys, guy like Austin Reeves, guy like Rui Hachimura that can step in for when Braun is not in that mode of trying to score a lot or he wants to distribute a little bit more to preserve himself. And then after that, I need to raise the defensive floor of my team. Like it has to be all defense at that point. And the reason, and I think the clear-cut thing for every championship team has been that their defensive floor is significantly higher. Like it's in like the top 10 of the league. And I don't think until the Lakers functionally accept that the constant is that you will not get 100% of Braun for every minute he's on the floor. AD can't shoot threes. You're not going to get the spacing that you want. But I think if they commit to the idea that, look, this is what we're going to get out of our stars, however many games they play, this is how they're going to play. We've got the volume scores of Rui and Austin. Let's build the defense now. Let's bring in grunt work guys who are going to rebound, guys who are going to chase guys around. You look at the teams around the league that are trying to win a championship. Dallas grabbing defensive guys, more defensive guys, trading for them, whatever it may be. The Clippers lose Paul George. They lean all in on defense. Go get Chris Dunn. They go get Derrick Jones Jr., who basically took Paul George's spot on that team. Like, just a lot of teams are headed in that direction. I don't see the Lakers going in that direction. And maybe the sell, which Jovan wrote about, Gabe being healthy, Vando being healthy, Max being elevated into a role, maybe that's what they think it is. But I'm telling you that 5 position, the interior of the paint, it just bothers me too much. I don't know if we have the interior presence to really scare teams away from hurting us inside.
Yeah, I think one of the issues, again, it's like the chicken or egg question, right? Like what came first is, again, you go build a team of full defense. Let's say you build a team of a bunch of Vandos, right? It's kind of what you're gaining out, right? A bunch of Vandos around.
A little bit better offensively, but
sure. Sure. Vando with a 3-point shot that goes in at 38% or whatever it is, right? Problem is, again, with that is, all right, you do that, and LeBron's looking around like, well, like, who's creating shots here, right? Like, I have 3 people in the paint, and I can't drive to the rim. And like the teams that you're talking, like, I think about the Knicks with this, Vinay, right? Like a team like New York, that the way they're built, minus the Randall situation, Randall's one of the most polarizing players in the league to me. But put him to the side for a second. The team that they just built, right, is very much Jalen Brunson. You better cook. Like it's your kitchen, and you're gonna be making the food. But everyone else got everything else. You don't have to worry about cleaning the floors. You don't have to worry about, not degrading these positions at all, but like just you're in the kitchen. You don't have to like worry about any of this. you just cook in the offensive end. And Jalen Brunson is in his prime. I don't know how old he is, but like he's able to do that, right? And you go look around the league of teams that are doing that. Luka as well. Luka obviously has Kyrie now, but
Right. Yeah.
Luka as well is in that position. I think Cleveland they just paid Jared Allen and Jared Mobley, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Ridiculous extension for Evan Mobley, but in any case, and now they're like, hey, Mitchell and Garland, you go cook, and like you guys have all the offensive responsibility. So I think that's something that teams have kind of moved towards. It's just, can you hand that to LeBron? And I don't think LeBron wants that. I don't think LeBron wants to go into a season where he's the only ball handler. And I think it's very clear that there's been this. I think the Russell Westbrook thing is part of this, and obviously Rondo is part of this, and like you can go down the list of guards that he's asked for to kind of share offensive responsibility with, and now it's D'Lo and Austin who share this, and I think LeBron likes not having to bring the ball up every single time. I think it's important we listen to the athletes, and LeBron's talked about like, hey, I like that I don't have to dribble it up every single time. That's a positive for me. That allows me to save my energy. And so it's a tough thing, but I'm with you. I think that's the correct build. I think that's the build with the highest floor, probably, in terms of your win percentage. Is that a team JJ Redick wants to build? Like, I don't know.
Great question. Yeah.
I think JJ Redick would like 4 Dalton Connects, like around right. So, I think that's an interesting way to look at. Like, AD's asked for a center next to him and has been laughed at for multiple summers, and I think both of us are like, maybe we should listen to the star that's out there every night. And, he's saying, get me a center that's able to play next to me. And every year the Lakers are like, nope, we gave you that for 1 year.
Yeah, we're not investing any. Yeah.
No, we're investing very little, minimums after minimum. And we just watched like Isaiah Hartenstein go get $20 million a year. We just watched Jared Allen extend for 3 years, 90. I think I have that right, Vinay. Yes. Like that's $30 million a year for a center. Like that's what these other teams are investing in their centers. Lakers are like, no, who's on the minimum that we can go grab? It's a tough place to be, but I think that's where they've kind of landed, is this like middle ground of like these B+ players that can supposed to do a little bit of both. And we'll see what they are next year. But it's a tough place to be. I'm with you though. I think that's the correct build. I don't see a path. Do you see a path to that this season?
So that was actually going to bring me to that next question that needs to be answered. That's a great question, because that'll lead right to it. The Lakers are in this situation right now with the existing roster. So Jovan wrote this article where he kind of mentioned that the Lakers are, for the folks that didn't read it, guys like Max Christie, good health for Gabe, good health for Vando, the addition of Dalton Connect, like these guys are going to help add to the rotation and plug some of the gaps and that the Lakers needed. Also defensively, that's 3 defensive guys in Max, Gabe, and Vando that would be inserted into the rotation that the Lakers field will help raise the floor of the team. So I had a question about this because, we talked about this a little bit, that not on the pod, but now we can on the pod. There is a logjam situation in my mind, Raj, where we have too many guys that are going to be basically guarding the same type of guy on the floor. D'Lo, Austin, Gabe, I would put Dalton in that category, and Max. There's about 5 guys that are going to be sort of guarding the same guys. And the reason I'm putting Dalton in that is because we watched him in Summer League. He's not necessarily a good defensive player. So if you're going to use him for his shooting and stuff like that, you don't want him guarding guys that are strong physical bruisers, because he's going to have a lot of trouble with those kind of guys. But we have a lot of guys in the same position, and many of them are very offensive centric, right? So D'Lo, offensive centric, Austin, offensive centric, Dalton, offensive centric, Max, you could say he's kind of a mix, probably more defensive aligned, Gabe, a little bit more defensive aligned. There has to be some sort of balance. And we just spent 20 minutes talking about, hey, we should probably invest in a 5 that's out there. So for me, naturally, not because I don't like him or anything like that, just purely because of his contract situation. D'Lo has constantly been shared in rumors, and I'm not here to pitch any other trade ideas. We've done that in pods before. I want to ask you a question conceptually. If you have too many guys at one position, and look, we've accepted, like, there's a little bit of acceptance that we have to do here, that we are not going to get back dollar for dollar when it comes for, if we do move D'Lo, we're not going to get back dollar for dollar. Whether it's Lakers tax, whatever you want to believe, it's whatever the reason, we're just not going to. But the Lakers still have an opportunity to may have an opportunity to move an expiring contract for a player who may not be equal to the basketball value of his contract, but
Mhm.
might help the team significantly. So when I'm thinking about trading D'Lo, it's not from am I getting a player back that is equal in value to D'Lo, or am I getting a player back that is equal in value to his contract as it
Mhm.
currently exists? I'm trying to look for a player that improves our team regardless of what the contract looks like. Obviously, we have the second apron restraint,
Right.
the cap that we have. Do you think that's an avenue that the Lakers should consider? Moving D'Lo for a guy. Okay, I'll throw a name that people hate, Clint Capella. I think Brandon in the chat,
Mhm.
he mentioned Trey and Clint. But let's just say the Hawks come to you and say, you know what, we'll send Capella's actually expiring, so I don't think they'll do it. But like, let's just say they entertain the idea. They say, you know what, in fact, we'll give you a second back. Take
Mm.
Capella off of us. We'll take D'Lo and we'll send you a second round pick. Or let's say Milwaukee comes up to us and says, and we'll throw you just take Brook off of our hands and we'll throw you a second round pick. Do you think that is helpful to the Lakers because of what we just talked about?
I do. I do think that's helpful. And those are two deals I would really think about. I think the issue with D'Lo, and we've had this conversation so many times,
Mhm.
Vinay, is I think he's vital in our regular season pursuits. Like I think he's important. I think like you look at this team, and not to make this, about modern basketball or whatever, but who's our 3-point shooters on this team? Like
Mhm.
we hope it's Dalton Connect, but put him to the side for a second. D'Lo's our only volume 3-point shooter. Austin
Mhm.
doesn't take him in that, but now maybe he will this season, but that's just not his game. Like the math game you lose when you pull
Mhm.
D'Lo for even a center like Capella, right? Your offense is already bogged down in terms of shooting. Rui Hachimura is not a volume 3-point shooter either. JJ Redick has spoke about he wants him to turn him to that. We'll see. He shot well, for Japan, but I believe the line is a little bit shorter in
Yeah,
FIBA. But yeah, it's just you lose D'Angelo Russell and you lose a ton of offensive importance. You lose a lot of 3-point volume. You lose shot creation, and again, these are all things I'm speaking purely from regular season
for
standpoint
sure.
here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's just I think that's a tough, and I think that's honestly, Vinay, this is one of my reasonings why I didn't think the Lakers were going to do anything. And I still stand on this today. I think the Lakers look at the ground and the level of the playing field and went, there's just no D'Lo's value is such in the clutter because of his playoff, production and because
Mhm.
of the contract he's in that they're going to kick this can to the trade deadline. Yeah, I think it's really tough to just and the Lakers are in a tough spot because they need D'Lo for the regular season, but understand that he's not a guy they can take into a playoff war.
Yeah,
And that's a tough spot to be in. And I've said before, you needed some kind of contingency plan once he opted in. I thought you needed to trade him then. I thought that was when his value was like at the peak of, when players are being moved and stuff like that. But I would definitely think about it. I would think about Capella. I would think about Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez at 36 or 37.
I
Vinay
mean, we
doesn't.
did it with Marc Gasol. We did it with Dwight
You're
Howard.
right.
Like
You're
with
you're right.
yeah, and I'm not. And just to be clear, like for anybody who's watching, we're not saying that those are the trades that they should do. I'm just throwing
Mhm.
names out there because these are guys that are not worth the value of the contract that they're currently being played on,
Sure.
but might help a
The
specific
balance of the
the
team.
balance of the team out. Yeah, because look, my other concern, Raj, that kind of rolls into this too as well is I don't know if JJ can balance out the minutes for all those guys. I don't know, like without going into 3 guard lineups again. Like
Yeah.
and that's a little bit of my concern. Like Max just got paid. He has to play. He didn't get paid a ton, but he has to play.
Mhm.
Austin wants to be a 20, $25 million player. He doesn't want to be a $12 million, $15 million player the rest of his life. I'm pretty sure, he's a nice guy, but we've seen Austin be an asshole.
He's a
Like he's
competitive
yeah, he's
man.
got a competitive spirit about him. Like he wants to be a 20. I'm sure he sees these other guys getting paid 20, $30 million. He's like, dude, I can anywhere else I can make this kind of money too as well. Like he's got to get his touches too as well. Gabe, obviously, if he's back healthy, the Lakers have invested $12 billion in him. They give him a contract. And then obviously we drafted Dalton. And this, I mean, obviously you and I have said that Bronny is a year away from being a year away, but who knows what his situation, what they've kind of promised him to as well, in regards to minutes and rotation usage. But like D'Lo is kind of the guy that's in the way of some of that in terms of minutes. I don't know if JJ can balance all that stuff out. That's a little bit of my concern too as well.
So are you comfortable, Vinay? Then if you move D'Lo for, let's just say, Brooke Lopez, right?
Yeah,
I guess Austin and Max backcourt
sure.
next to LeBron, AD, and Lopez is that enough offensively? You think to kind of hit in? We
Here,
talk about the defensive floor,
yeah.
but does that hit an offensive floor in the regular season?
See,
To
it does for me because you're moving Rui to that sixth man role, and Vando becomes the Caruso. In my mind, this is how I'm justifying it to myself. Rui becomes your sixth man, and Vando becomes Alex Caruso for us off the
mm,
bench.
okay,
If you're bumping guys out to that can bolster the bench that are basically starting caliber players, I think assuming everybody's healthy, all that sort of stuff, and if they are even if they replicate what they did, during their tenure with the Lakers so far when they were healthy, which is still good basketball, I think that helps. Will the offense from the starting unit maybe be a little bit tougher because it's just like Austin and Braun are really the true creators, and
right,
AD, you don't know what you'll get, maybe for sure, but I think our defensive floor will be better. Like
sure,
I think Max instead of D'Lo is an upgrade defensively. I think Brooke, just a big 7 foot guy, 7'1" guy on the floor. If it's Capella, that's a lob threat, that you
yeah,
get in that position that can do it. So it's just like, um, I'm not expecting Austin to take a huge leap. I'm not expecting Max to take a huge leap. I do expect them to be effective at what they're actually good at.
hmm
So it's just like I think that balance has to be found somehow. Like now you have a bench of Gabe, Dalton, Vando, Rui, and whoever Christian Wood, whoever else is at the end of the bench. Like that, not terrible if you're mixing in guys like Austin and all that stuff. Does it win a championship? I don't know, but I think it balances out things a little bit better. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I'm with that. I thought that there should have been a contingency plan set up once D'Lo opted in. I was
Yeah,
convinced. I thought that's what should have happened. And once I saw that didn't, it kind of told me the road of the offseason. But I think that makes sense. I do think again, it's just I think they're looking at it from a standpoint of you just brought up if everyone stays healthy. Two of the guys you mentioned there, Vinay did not play last year, like at all. Vando played a few games. Gabe,
hmm
I won't call that playing. I don't know what that was, but he was. I guess he was. I guess he was out there.
yeah,
And the guy you mentioned in that is Dalton Connect, who's a rookie,
yeah.
right? Like I think those three are very tough, like variables. And again, you trade one of your starting guards who played, I think, over 70 games last year or whatever he played last year. I think that's a really tough position to be. And again, like I bring this up all the time. AD played 76 games last year,
Ton of games. Yeah,
and he's playing in the Olympics this year, which again, credit to him, but I'm sure that's going to have some residual effect coming into the next season. LeBron played 71 games last year. Like, I'm not expecting 71 games again this year. I'm just not, especially coming off an Olympic run. So those are other variables that you kind of put in. And again, you trade one of your guards for a center, and one of your bigs don't play. I just think like there's a tough part to kind of
yeah.
evaluate there. But I understand the sentiment, and like the guy I wanted was the guy in Orlando, the center in Orlando,
Wendell Carter Jr.
Wendell
Yeah,
Carter Jr. Yeah,
yeah.
but it's very clear he's part of their future. Not maybe not their
Mhm.
future plans, but at least their imminent plans of this season. And they're
Did,
you know
did you see the news on Jonas? They're like, oh, Jonas is going to get moved
y-
in December, and I was just
y-
like, okay, you just signed
yeah,
guys just to trade them in
yeah.
3 months. I guess that's
And I'm not a Jonas guy, so like I
yeah,
I was kind of happy. Then I never bought that LeBron was taking $15 million less for Jonas Valanciunas.
that's insane. Yeah, that
I
was
just never bought that
yeah,
was the case at all. But credit Jonas getting his name thrown into that little
yeah,
group. It was James Harden, Klay Thompson, and Jonas Valanciunas. Just
yeah.
a nice little dart right in there.
And
Um,
I think we were talking when we talked about James Harden. I was like, why is James Harden being mentioned in this? Like,
right,
he's gonna get $30 million from Cliff. Why would he
right.
take $12 million from the Lakers?
Yeah,
But
right. Just
yeah,
insane players that was mentioned. But yeah, that's why it's tough. And I think again they're gonna go in and just evaluate. All right, let's see what LeBron is, let's see what AD is, let's see what this team is, and we'll see what they are at the deadline. They won, I think, 47 games last year. Again, just talk about the health of those two stars. And we'll see what Vando and them give you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm surprised that they stuck with the exact team other than Bronny and Dalton Connect. I don't think anyone expected that, but
You remember
I
the
mean, I guess
conspiracy
I
from
did.
our? You remember the conspiracy from the last pod? My absolute conspiracy that they were for the folks that didn't watch the last pod or you're just tuning in now. It was that they're the Lakers. Rob's goal, his like pat myself on the back moment was, I just need to get LeBron to extend. So let me go hire the coach he likes and go get his son, and then LeBron will sign. And as soon as he did that, he's just like, "Yep, I'm done with my job. I'm not doing it."
Right. Yeah.
I wonder. I wonder if that's what it was. But
Uh,
go ahead. I interrupted you.
no, no, no. You're good. Yeah. Rob's job is complete. Yeah, that's why like I said that on July 2nd, and I believe that still today that they, we're very much gonna just run this back and hope for health between Vando and Gabe, and join in with Dalton Connect and see what the team is. It's funny because you watch again, like I watch it from a funny kind of side here. Everyone's like, oh, watching LeBron AG on Team USA going at the Lakers roster. It's like, well, like no one's building this team. Like this team does not exist
Yeah.
in a Laker world. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this again, Vinay. The here we go again kind of meme. We're doing this all over again.
I can't wait for this. The thank you. What is it? Thank you fans or whatever the memes that come after like the first game when we get our butts kicked or something. Okay, rapid fire. Last topic because we want to keep this under an hour. It's not rapid fire. It's just one topic. Jeremy Grant, the darling of the Los Angeles Lakers. The Portland Trailblazers are viciously and violently keeping him locked away in the Pacific
Yes.
Northwest, and they won't let him free. And he went from being indifferent about whether he got traded or not because he wanted to get paid and he's in Portland, to then randomly a news story coming out that he's interested in being traded to the Lakers, which, as you guys know, is probably just Rich Paul getting somebody to write that story out. But that's neither here nor there, Raj. What are your thoughts on Jeremy Grant's impact? Let's say it's going to cost you for sure. Let's say the Blazers say, you know what? We were all wrong about Jeremy Grant. We don't need first-round picks. We don't need second-round picks. Send us Rui Hachimura and send us, I don't know, whatever filler you can think of. You don't have to send us Austin. Let's say that he says, send us Rui Hachimura, send us D'Angelo Russell. We want to form the United Nations in our starting lineup, and we'll be happy with that. What do you think Jeremy Grant's impact on the Lakers actually is? Because this has been a very hot debate in our group chat.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's very fun to like pull a player who's on a terrible team and kind of pluck him out and try to reduce his role and hope like the efficiency goes up. And there's places where that's happened, right? Look at PJ Washington coming from Charlotte. I'll say no, JHS included. I don't think you have to throw JHS in that, but yeah, you look at PJ Washington going from Charlotte to Dallas, right? And there's other examples of this. I think there's a world where that works. I think Jeremy Grant is still clutch if I have that correct.
He might be. I'd have to double check. Yeah.
I think so because I remember him and LeBron had that little conversation in the bubble after we eliminated Denver. The little closeted conversation.
Yeah.
I think like we're not in the position to be like beggars over choosers in this situation. Like if you can grab Jeremy Grant, especially for the price that you just laid out, I think you'd have to do it. I have concerns that the defensive kind of engagement is still there, but he had a ridiculous offensive year. He still shoots the ball really well. I think he's a better 3-point shooter than Rui Hachimura is. I think he's a better off the bounce kind of scorer, creator in the right role. He's been on bad teams for so long, Vinay. I just don't know where his head is at in terms of that. And I would hope there's like a better move out there. But I mean, I do that deal that you mentioned. I wouldn't throw first rounders into it. Where you at with it?
Yeah, so I think Jeremy's impact is he's a net neutral when it comes to offense compared to Rui, but he is a defensive upgrade. I think he has better defensive tools for what we need him to do out of that. So if the cost is an expiring D'Lo, granted we would lose some playmaking and obviously floor spacing with losing D'Lo. And you have to remember Rui, we got him for like kind of like a bag of chips, dude. We got him for Kendrick Nunn and a couple of seconds, which we ended up recovering back in the Mo Bamba trade, I think, anyways. So it's like two kind of expendable assets for, a guy that might be help you get a little bit closer to a championship. He's a fairly durable guy, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But like, yeah, I think before when the news came out, I wanted to say that I was like, okay, if you can like protect the pick or something like that, like one first rounder,
Mhm.
protect it, then you're good. But now that I think about it, I was just like, how about we don't send you any first rounders? Because I don't think it makes sense to send you any first rounders for a guy who you traded a single first rounder for like 3 years ago. Like, there's no reason he didn't get better in that sense for us to want to trade for him.
Uh,
Um,
he played 54 games last year, by the way.
mm,
Year before 63, year before 47, year before
so maybe not
54.
healthy.
Yeah, some of those injuries are a little bit more. I think the
Tanking.
team
Yeah.
decided to tank. It's hard to kind of
Yeah.
walk the line with that, but he hasn't been like the beacon of health either. There's some
Yeah.
concerns there, and again, I think he would move. Would he move LeBron to the 3? I think Finera, that kind of would you have him? I guess as the 4. I mean, excuse me. Would you have him as the 3? I guess in that scenario, guarding other threes.
You think he can guard twos?
But then who's your backcourt guarding, right? Like I think that's a
It'd be like
tough,
Austin, Jeremy, Braun, AD,
mm,
and I don't know,
like
Christian Wood at
Max.
center. I don't know.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
or make somebody up. Yeah,
Yeah.
whoever.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe he can guard too. So he was a like super versatile defender, especially in OKC and in Denver. That he was a very versatile defender. I thought
Yeah,
he defended Braun pretty well. I think he was like the best Braun AD defender,
yeah,
at least in that series. I just don't know where he's at anymore with that. You listen to Portland fans, and I like to listen to the fans of teams that watch their player every day. They say his like engagement very much comes and goes. The defense is very highlight level, but
mm,
it's not consistent if you're watching every day. But again, this is a team that's not winning. It's hard to judge those type of players on those teams.
yeah,
But I'd be open to it if that's the package that it
yeah,
is.
yeah. I think if it's something minimal like that, I'd certainly consider it. But yeah, like I do think like moving a guy like Rui to the bench, pairing him with a guy like Vando too as well. I think that's a nice 1-2 punch, offense defensive punch to come and change the pace of a game. It slots Rui into a role where when I come off the bench, my job is to score the basketball. That's what you guys want me to do. That's what I'm going to go do right now. We talked ad nauseum. I would like to say we've coined the phrase that he is Braun's direct sub. He is a natural sub for Braun
Yeah.
because of how he likes to play. And so that it'll be interesting to see. I just want to get your thoughts on that because I know that seems to be the recycled name over and over again. We haven't gotten anybody else. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what ends up happening. I think you're right. I think a lot of teams might just wait till December or till February to move some of the guys that they want to move. It might not be anything more than that. But this was a good discussion, Raj. Did you have anything else top of mind that you wanted to bring up before we let the
Last
folks
thing,
go?
give me just 2 minutes on are you if you're the Warriors, are you throwing everything for Lauri Markkinen? They have 2 days left. I believe Markkinen's going to sign the extension on shout out to Tony Jones, has been very strong on this. He's going to sign the extension August 7th, lock himself out of being traded this year. So if the Warriors, do you throw it all in, Pods, Kuminga, the first round picks, and go get the 22 points per game versatile forward?
What
If you're
are
the
they going to
Warriors,
have left? It'll just be Steph, Laurie, Draymond, and then all the
Moody,
guys that they signed.
Moody, yeah, but
Moody,
you're
Kyle Anderson, D'Anthony
I think they got
Melton.
Melton, yeah, D'Anthony Melton.
They won't have a center, right? They still don't
I
have
think
a center.
Looney's still on the team.
Oh, he's still on the team. Okay,
You still have Trace Jackson Davis, I guess.
bro. I don't know. I don't know if Laurie is the answer. Okay, Laurie is another example of a guy who he's a great offensive player, modern offensive player. All of the stuff that he does looks like sexy. If you watch him on defense, I don't think he's a guy that you pay a max to, and then you're like, okay, yeah, he's my offense and defensive anchor. Like we know Steph will compete on the defensive end, but he's not a defensive guy necessarily. They rely on Draymond for stuff like that. So I don't know if I would do that. That's a lot. That's a lot. But if you don't have a plan, dude, if you don't have a development plan for Jonathan Kuminga, if you don't have a development plan for Pods, if you don't have any future vision as to what you want to do with those guys or what you think they can eventually mature into, then yeah, go ahead, trade them. Like,
That was gonna be my next point, is because if you have Steph, who's 30, I think he's 35, 36, whatever he is, then what are you doing? Like, you're gonna have to pay Kuminga $30 million a year next
Yeah.
year, and you're in this same boat. I don't think Kuminga's ready for what the ask is for him on a actual title team, actual role. Pods is really nice. I don't think he's ready for that either. So again, you're kind of just turning the wheel and going, Steph, go be 2016 Steph and go turn us into a championship. I lost Klay Thompson, obviously, for and they rebounded well, I thought, but I think they're gonna miss Klay's gravity and on the offensive end. I don't know what they're doing, but I think it's something really to think about. I think the Jazz just don't want to trade Lauri Markkanen. Like,
I don't think so either. I think Ainge is trying to get them to get like 8 first-round picks or like
Right.
8 assets in return. He's trying to do the thing that he did with Gobert, except he's just kind of publicly doing it, as opposed to Gobert was kind of quiet. I think he's just trying to do that, and then if he gets like a crazy last-minute offer where the Warriors give up like every single asset that they have plus all the young players they have, he'll do it. But otherwise, he's just going to sign Markkanen, and then he'll just be like, "I'll wait 6 months," and we're going to be a garbage team. He's going to get great stats. People are still going to want him 6 months from now, and he'll be in line to freaking get. I think that AJ Dubnsa kid, he's going to BYU, so he's going to be in Utah's wheelhouse. Or BYU is one of the teams that he's out there. He's going to be a top pick. So it's just they're going to tank, bro.
They'd have to wait. They'd have to wait 12 months, right? Because I don't think Lauri's not going to sign it till August 7th. So he would.
Oh
not
yeah. So it saves them. Yeah, they'd have to wait till the next off. You're right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Just kind of, I don't know. That's a tough situation, dude. They have to figure out is Steph can he carry you to a championship? If you get him to the playoffs, can he like carry you? Because that's what you're going to need. Draymond's not carrying you.
Do they owe it to Steph to do that? That's a tough question, right? I think about this
we were running into that question with LeBron, honestly. So
ran into it with Kobe, right?
We did run into that with Kobe.
Is it worth? And Draymond's talking about, there was a trade, but that would have helped now, but it wouldn't have been good for the future. It's like, well, like, is Steph in those conversations?
Do they? Okay, so to be fair, do they owe it to Steph? The answer would be yes. But do they? But if you change that question, say, do they owe it to their fans? Is it in the best interest of the fans who are going to be there when Steph retires? The answer, I would say, is no. I think if you ask that question for a lot of players that are in the older tier across the league, you would get that response because it's a tough decision. But dude, we saw, I've seen it firsthand with Kobe. Like we saw he got hurt. They gave him that extension. Jeannie openly came out and said, this is for everything he's done in these 20 years of basketball or 18 years of basketball that he's done. She made it very clear to the fans up front. This is what this is about. We know that, we're not going to we got Jeremy Lin and Nick Young and all these dudes on the team. She made it very clear up front. I don't think she's going to do that. If she wanted to do that with Bron, I don't think she would do that because I think she wants to let Bron kind of dictate how his end is going to sound. Nobody wants to do it early for him, but dude, that's it's not an easy decision, bro. And
it's not.
The ownership's got to be able to handle it, like just kind of the slack that comes with that, making that kind of decision.
I'll close with this, Vinay. LeBron and Steph are very close on Team USA. There's a lot of shoulder rubs going on. There's a lot of little holding the
a lot of high fives.
A lot of hand over the mouth kind of conversations that are going on. A lot of those two isolated having conversations. I'm just saying there's some stuff going on there.
LeBron is a pretty good salesman, so I hope
you hope it's coming this way.
It's not going the other way. I hope he's just like, I could convince Lakers to take Kuminga and Looney, and you know what I mean? Like it's just no, but I mean, especially with Bronny here now, like I think Bron's going to finish his career here.
For sure.
So I would hope he's trying to lay the seeds of doubt in Steph's mind and bring him over to LA. And that would be some spectacular about. The basketball world would spontaneously combust into some sort of nuclear explosion because those two specific fan bases have been warring with each other for like 15 years now. Like it's been crazy to watch. But Raj, this was a great conversation. touch on Team USA, touch on Lakers, touch on Jeremy Grant. So we'll see. Nothing much news wise has come out. We hope Rui Hachimura is healthy. He got hurt in that last Japan game, so hopefully he's okay. Hopefully we'll get some news, whether it's player related or departmental related, as to what happens. So as always, for the folks that joined us, you can always replay this back on Twitter, or I'll upload this on Spotify and Apple, and you can search Lakers Detailed and find the video version of the pod available. And if nothing else, whether you joined us at the beginning or partway through, we appreciate you, whether you like, share, subscribe. And as always, we hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.